I'd like to introduce the head table, and then we can have dinner, and then
Here on the microphone.
Any comments that you'd like to make after dinner. The mic will be open.
You might want to mention a few things.
Oh, there may be a few things you don't want to mention, too, because there are young people here. At the head table, we have Joyce Pietri. Why don't you just raise your, so that they know who you are. That is Joyce's daughter. She lives in Arizona with her husband, Scott. Raise your hand, Scott. There's Scott. Okay. She is a principal at an elementary school in Arizona. Then there's son Raleigh, who lives in Colorado. He owns a limousine company, and he is available. Then there's Bud Pietri. He is a third son, the third offspring. He lives in Colorado, and he's a jack of all trades. He's built a beautiful, beautiful home, and he's made so many improvements to our places here in New Hampshire. We love to have him visit because we have a list of things to fix up. And he has a daughter, Sam. Where is Sam? There's Sammy. And he has a wife, Sue. Wave Sue. There she is. Oh, there she is, over there. Okay, then Sue Green is here. Sue Green represents the Fitkin family from England. That's where it all started. And she's here with her husband, Philip. There's Philip.
Taking slides.
And Sharon is here at the head table. She is the oldest daughter of our brother, Ed. And she is here with her husband, Henry. There's Henry. And with her two sisters, Wendy and Penny. Raise your hand. And there's Scott Fitkin. And he was our father's brother's son. There's a lot of family connection here. And he's here with his wife, Kay, and they live in South Carolina. Okay. And all I want to say is that one of the best things that ever happened to me is that Joyce moved up here to New Hampshire. It's great. So the kitchen is open. It's a buffet, so get up and help yourselves, and the mic will be open after, maybe as we hit dessert. Thank you.
Touch it?
Unbelievable. Yes. Want to see if it's
There you go. There's white, right? Okay, looks like
That's almost as good as that one.
Going back to sit down and look, I'm sorry.
I got it. I got you. I got the card. I got it.
Oh, I know. Grandma's getting rid of her.
Oh, right. So, I love those shoes. Oh, me.
Great job. She's the techno geek.
I didn't do anything really fancy. I was kind of sore from it. I'm going to do, early year. Yeah. Here, so no, let me run randomly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was like, I heard my name. I didn't do anything fancy. Well, no, it's not once you get them tweaked. That's much fancier. Yeah.
My daughter-in-law did one for
Because for as long as I've known it, I've been 10 years younger than my birth certificate says. It's in order for her to be 10 years younger. In fact, at one point there was a picture on her wall, and if you've been to the house or any of her houses, there are always pictures on the wall. And there used to be one that said I was 40 years old, and she had it actually a little tag right over where it said 40 because she didn't want anybody to know she had a daughter that was 40 years old. So I have a birthday coming up. It says 55 on the birth certificate, but I'm claiming 45. So just to keep the tradition alive. So what we'd like to do is just, they're going to be serving coffee and cakes and bringing around to the tables, but I wanted to see if anybody wanted to share maybe a story that's appropriate for this setting. She was telling on herself last night, so some of the stories have already been told. But if there's anybody that has something they'd like to share about a memory or thoughts about Joyce or Mom.
I've known that lady for 55 years or so. Who are you? I'm Jim Draper.
Why are you here?
And I was married to young Karen here for 20 years or more. And during that time period, of course, I got to know Joyce. I knew all the Fitkin family members from the years of 1950, 48 on, because we both of our families had summer homes here in Wincorsauqui. I want to tell you a story about Joyce, because I saw her come in tonight dragging her little gas canister, and I said she'll do anything to act like she's still alive and kicking and the sweet girl that she's always been. Now, Carmen over here, she is something else. She says that she has 7 children, is that right? At least. Those that she can remember. The Pietri family was quite a family. Joyce married her husband, Pete, and Joy here, of course, being the firstborn, was out of sight at the time, but Karen and I were living in East Province, and Joyce and Pete were in the same area. And there was a competition going on between the two girls. They were going to have a baby. Linda, who's someplace here in the room, my first daughter, and Raleigh, the first boy in the family. And Joyce, being the type of a woman she is, coming from a good Puerto Rican family, she was damned and determined she was going to have the baby first. But she didn't. Karen happened she happened to have broken her water one morning, but neither one of us knew what that meant because we were newlyweds and unschooled in these kinds of things. And I said, well, honey, how are you feeling? Well, I'm okay. She said, you go to work. And I said, okay, I'll go to work. I was working for Singer Sewing Machine down in Providence. And so she calls her mom that morning and says, my bed's all wet. I think I've broken water, whatever the hell that means. Well, Bud and Helen Fitkin got on the next private plane and came up to Providence and took her to the hospital where she gave birth to Linda. And I was working, selling sewing machines. After that day, her mother always had words for me, and they weren't always nice. Anyway, the Pietris were a great influence. Pete, your brother, was a wonderful guy. I love him all.
Name tags, and everybody has to name everybody in the room.
I think we bought you.
Anyway, just keep it short because I don't have much to say. Mom's a wonderful mom, the best mom in the world. She taught me to drive when I was probably 14 years old in Michigan. We drove around out in the country woods just to get out. And then when we got older, we went scuba diving together. And we did some trips in Mexico. But the one I remember the most was when we went and partied up in Cancun. And no, she was Cancun, and we went out to Old Town and just drank a lot of margaritas. Just the two of us had a blast. Of course, the next day we went scuba diving off the coast of Cancun, between that and the island of Murata or whatever, and then the waves were 8 foot tall. Ooh. Now, how do you think she's feeling after all those margaritas? Well, the fish were happy. There you go. Yes. But she was much better once she got below the water, too. So, other than that, though, I'm very happy to have Mom as my mother. There you go. Come on.
Go Spike! Go Spike!
Linda's good. She's good. Come on.
I'm not ready yet.
You can say so.
Joyce is my neighbor, our neighbor at Broadview. And unlike the previous speakers, we've only known her a short time. She has left an indelible impression. We're very pleased to have her for a neighbor, and we recently had Joyce and her sister and Marty to dinner. And Karen, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but after you folks left, Joyce stayed around for 2 or 3 more drinks. And, then she drove home in her golf cart, 2 doors down, and she drove home at roughly Mach 3. Tore by her condo at Broadview, and then did a U-E and roared right into the garage. We were scared. I was scared to death. I had gone out to make sure she got home okay, and I wasn't sure I was going to get home okay. But she roared into the garage, and no light came on. And I said, "My God, Joyce, you don't have any light in the garage." She said, "No, I've never had one. Didn't need it." In any event, Joyce, we're so pleased to be here with you tonight to celebrate this historic occasion. And we treasure you as a neighbor, and we're very, very thankful that you're with us.
My brother was Pete. And all I can say about Titi Joyce, because maybe you don't know what Titi is in Spanish, it's aunt. It's a very favorite aunt. You can be tia, not if you're formal, but if you really love somebody, it's Titi. And all my children, as you said, Jim, so nicely, those 7 or 8 daughters I have. Anyhow, where was I?
Titi Joyce.
Titi Joyce has always been Titi Joyce, no matter what went on in all the years, and various and sundry significant others. We loved Titi Joyce. And I have now 4 of my children are here to see their Titi Joyce. And nothing will ever change, Joyce, between you and me and all our friends. My parents loved you dearly, as you well know. So what can I say except love, love, love. Oh, yeah.
I'm Bud's father-in-law, and Joyce's only granddaughter is also our granddaughter. Well, Samantha's sitting right over here. So, but what I wanted to tell you, Bud, Sue, and Samantha lived in the Fort Myers area for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, while you were living in Naples. And Bud had a sailboat. And, you know, when you come from Colorado, you don't know anything about sailboats. So I remember Judy and I, we went out sailing with Bud, Sue, and Samantha. And I remember, in fact, one time we went out with Joy and Scott. But I all the times I went out with him, I don't ever remember asking him a question, because I didn't know enough about that sailboat to ask him a simple question about how something worked. Well, if you can believe it, we pulled in one day, and even though Joyce lived only 40 miles away, she hadn't seen Bud's sailboat. So I was standing there, so I had a hard time getting on and off it. She jumps right out and gets on it. And I'm standing there for about 15 minutes watching and listening. And I'm not exaggerating. She asked him 100 questions, technical questions about that sailboat. I was blown away how much she knew about it, just how you learn sailing from her. But I was really impressed with her, and I know sailing is one of many things you've done in your life. But I was blown away by how knowledgeable she was. Just one last thing. Having been to Florida a few times and been to Joyce's house,